Good morning and good morning. Welcome in. We are here at Coffee Break Live with Senabella, and I'm happy to be here as your host today, introducing you to wonderful, wonderful people from around the city of Chicago and around the world who will come in and discuss a myriad of things. But this morning, I'm super happy to say that there are so many wonderful things that are going on in Chicago. And we have with us today a guest who can not only speak on it, but on the current activity of what's going on in cultural arts in Chicago and around the world. How is that affecting us? And what will we do as a result of that? And what is our investment as people into cultural arts? What can we anticipate? I mean, there are so many things. I want to say before I bring in our guest, Pemon Rami, that I too come from a very diverse cultural background in the arts. And when you come up generationally and you have parents and brothers and or sisters or people who are in the arts, it's something that becomes a material reality for you in your life. And as a result of that, for me, from 5 years old at Holy Angels and the Little Angels, all the way up until today, I have been completely immersed in cultural arts, not only from the place of, say, performing artists, but producing, writing, helping to create the landscape that others come into. And I think that this guest today exemplifies that whole idea of, say, generational wealth in cultural arts. He's so aligned to it. He also defines himself as an activist. And so without too much more delay, I want to say, first of all, thank you all so much for coming into the room this morning. I see you coming in. I'm excited to see you as always. Happy to be back this Friday. We've had a lot of things going on, and I'm sure that we have a lot to talk about. And I just want to say good morning to you, JJ. It's always good to see you. The screen is freezing a little bit, but I think we're going to be okay. And I see you, Robert. You know, you say you're having tea. I love that. And of course, I'm having my coffee. And my coffee says, imagine today. So imagine the possibilities, right? Imagine, imagine, imagine. Good morning, good morning, and good morning. Good morning, Robert. It's good to see you. How you doing over there? We just had a little inbox chat. I hope your spirit's up and you're revving to go. I'm pretty sure you are, because you know you're a pretty resilient guy. And of course, I have my beautiful friend Zimra in the house. Good morning to you, beautiful. It's good to see you. I know you all are excited. I've had people tell me already, I'm going to get the book. I want to talk to them. So without any further delay, even though I would like to see a few more of you in the room, I know you will come as we do it. I see the room is filling up now. And I'm going to introduce to you, and for some who already know him and are excited because you know that he is here, and for those who have not yet met him, please let me bring to the forefront Pemon Rami.
It is a pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me. And it's always good to participate with someone that has such an interest in the community and its ability to be able to share information. So I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know, I was excited. First of all, I run into you all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to ask him, hey, will you come and do my show? And you said, sure. And I'm like, I don't know why is it that whenever I'm in the supermarket and I see someone, they say yes.
That's the way to get us. You know, and I think that most of us know the importance of communications. And part of our condition, I think, is the fact that we don't have enough information about the good that we do. Mm-hmm. And so we have young people that are doing incredible work. Um, there is a future in us. It's just not projected. And so, if you don't see yourself in a position where you are encouraging the development of young people, their contribution to the commitment of uplifting their people, the give back of the talent that they have, then we're all going to be lost, you know. So, as I have navigated through this world, we have, my wife and I both have worked hard to position ourselves with young people coming behind us.
Mm-hmm.
So we focused on 14 to 19-year-olds when we first came back to Chicago.
14 to 19-year-olds.
14 to 9, yeah.
That's a
And
unique age range.
it
14 to
was because we knew that they were coming into their own and they would be going out with a voice.
19. Mm-hmm.
And so we mentored over 800 young people during that period of time. Some
Oh,
of which have gone on to do incredible work. And I don't mean incredible work in terms of entertainment. I mean, in terms of their ability to give back, to organize, to look at their community, to fight for social justice, to understand the contributions that you make and how you can utilize your voice. So it is those things that we have tried to impart to the young people that we work with. And the secondary part of that is to position them in a way to determine what they see when they look out of a window. Because you can see the ugly or you can see the good. You can see the young man that is taking care of his daughter. You can see the young lady that is being abused. You can see all of it.
wow.
But the question becomes, what do you do with what you see?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you imagine it to be in terms of the world that we have to leave for the children that are behind us? So,
Wow, that's pretty profound. That's a profound opening statement. What do we leave for the children that are behind us? First of all, let me give a little bit of context to who you are to some of those who don't know. You're an author, a professor, an international film producer, director, lecturer, historian, and a consultant. You have books that you have noted that are When Blackness Was Golden, which I'm highly interested in purchasing myself, and Observations from the Front Line. So, I mean, there are so many things that you can speak to. And so I want to make sure that we get as much as we can today and open up with a formal invitation to come back and have this, place where we can continue to discuss arts and culture and the dividends we can get out of it. And I think that you started with that when you spoke and said you have affected 800 young lives, your wife and yourself.
mhm.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about, can you go back and give me a little background about your wife and yourself and the early years? Because that's a lot. You
Well, it
started,
is. When I was 9 years old, I played Little League Baseball in Stayway Gardens. That's where we grew up in the project in Stayway. And I was playing baseball, and I took the equipment back to the park district to drop it off. When I took it to the park district, there was a man and a woman on stage doing something. They were talking. They were doing something. And I stood there watching them. And I asked them what they were doing, and the guy said, "This is theater." And did I want to be involved? His name was Okoro Harold Johnson and Apana Joan Brown, who founded ETA. They were just beginning. Okoro was teaching at the Park District. Apana was just starting, and I was 9 and watching them. And so I hung around and just started being involved. Um, but I also started as a musician. I was a percussionist, and so I was playing, we were touring, even when I was in high school. And
wait,
then,
you say you started as a musician. At what age did you start? Not at 9, right?
no, that was 14.
Okay.
And this is an interesting story that I don't know that most people know. So when I went to Wendell Phillips High School, and my freshman year, they were telling us what we could take. So they offered swimming. But during that period of time, and I don't know how many people know this, if you were a male in CPS, you had to swim naked. I don't
Oh,
know.
wow.
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I wasn't doing that. And so I said, what's the alternative to that? And they said, well, you can join the wrestling team or some sports. So I said, okay, well, I'll do wrestling because I'm not doing that. And so I joined the wrestling team, became very good at it, and met one of my closest friends. And we started this percussion group. We started touring around the city and putting on shows. And then I saw Oscar Brown Jr.
Oh,
I
wow.
also did a show called Lyrics of Sunshine and Shadows around the work of Paul Laurence Dunbar. He was the first person to do a touring production in Chicago Public Schools. And I saw that show and I said, that's what I want to do. I didn't quite know what that was either, but it was a combination of music, dance, theater. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I set out to do. And it was encouraged by Oscar's work. So I started a theater company. We started touring around the city. I think I was probably the youngest director in Chicago. And so that was part of it. And I did a touring production. We went to Cayman High School to perform. And I met my wife and Shaka Khan and Marshall Warfield, a bunch of those folks went to Cayman. I met them all the same day. And we started performing together. They were both in one of my first major musicals. And Shaka, Lyle Talbot that started Mantu, he was in the show. We were all teenagers, but we were performing, and I ended up doing that, and then I got into film because people saw what I was doing in theater. And
You
so
know,
I got,
you're going ahead so fast. I just want to slow it down because
oh,
you
okay.
said so many things.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go back to having to swim in the pool with no clothes on,
Yeah.
touch on that and try to understand the logic behind that. Was it because, and I've heard everything you've said so far, please bear with me, but was that something that was a normal thing, or was it because they felt that you didn't have the trunks to swim in the pool? I mean, I don't understand that.
No, I think it was just normalized during that period of time. It was not something that people saw as a problem.
Really?
I never got it, and so
Parents
I just
never had any said nothing about it. Just go swim. Everybody just jump in and
well,
go.
I had some interesting parents. My mother and father trusted me a lot, even when I was young, and when I realized it was when I was maybe 15, and they asked me to go and accept an award for them and speak on their behalf. And no adult had ever done that, for me, especially my family. And so to be out there representing them was like really, really cool uh, to be able to do. So my life was at the same time being developed on the political side and on the cultural side. And I couldn't make a separation between the two. So you can't, in my estimation, run around doing theater when young people are being abused.
Mhm.
When police violence was an issue, when we were stuck in these tenements and unable to relocate any place.
Say that again. So you didn't believe that there could be any real success in the things that you were trying to promote, build, and apply in the community you were in, because the grounds for violence and the disruption in our neighborhoods was so great. How did you overcome that?
Well, first of all, I was very safe in an environment of street gangs. My father was the little league baseball coach from the time we were very young until my brother took over, and so everybody in the projects knew my father. So I didn't have any issues. I could go to all. I went to all of them, from
Mhm.
Robert Taylor, the Ickeys, to Deborah Holmes, Ida B. Wells. So from that perspective, I was safe. But what I'm really drilling down to is as we have tried to navigate this world, we realize that our talents are not necessarily what make us successful.
Mm.
The reason that I titled my book When Blackness Was Golden is because I feel that during that period, we were more concerned about the upliftment of our people than
Mm.
we were us as individuals.
So that wasn't meant to be perceived as when blackness was golden, as in sort of this royal look or anything like that.
It is the rawness of our ability to find ourselves and to love ourselves. I mean, at the end of the day, everything comes down to how you feel about yourself. I heard Patti LaBelle once say that she didn't feel that she was a great singer until she got a Grammy.
Yeah.
No matter how much she had worked and how much praise we gave her, it didn't matter because there's this condition that sits on our heads that says that we have to be accepted by other cultural groups to feel good about ourselves. And so I fortunately came up at a time when we had all of these leaders and organizations all working for the same purpose. What was that purpose? To improve the quality of Black life.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many elements in it that you could divide the organizations, and we still didn't have enough people to fight all the stuff that was put on our backs.
It very much feels like that's what we're doing today as well. We're still in the same fight, probably swimming in the swimming pools the same way, just aggravated in the presence of trying to achieve. So,
and it comes down to what is the definition of success? Like, are you successful because you have a lot of money? Are you successful because people know your name? I gave an award. I presented an award to Reuben Cannon, who was a producer and used to be a casting director.
right.
And as I was walking up to the stage, I said, greatness should not be determined by name recognition, but by contributions made and lives touched. Mm-hmm. Because that comes down to what we really leave in the world. It's like, why are you doing this? What is it that you would leave behind that you would want your great grandchildren to see? Because the art that we create, the things that we put on this planet, are going to be around after we're gone. So that's going to be the reflection of who and what you are by what you have produced. Mm-hmm. And so if you take that in consideration, you say, okay, this is the thing that's going to represent me in 300 years. My great grandchildren are going to see it. Do you play that part? Do you still sing that song? Do you write that piece? Or do you look at the consequences of it and say, I'm going to leave something that will constantly be reminding people of the qualities of what we bring to this planet?
So do you believe that, or can we perceive then that from what you said, rather than believe, do you believe that you're writing books, being a consultant, being on boards, helping to keep the ground fertile as ways of doing those things?
It is. And, there's a line in Hamilton, there's a song, and I have issues with Hamilton, but there's a song called You Had to Be in the Room.
I was about to say, it has to be, they had to be in the room. You said, yes.
Room. And part of our issue is that there's not enough of us in the room to speak up. Mm-hmm. And so the boards that I have served on, I'm a lot of times that one voice, because I'm not asking them for money, mm-hmm. that can say, well, no, that's just not our reality. Mm-hmm. Because we live in different worlds. I mean, we see conditions totally different in terms of ethnic groups. And so what we see as an issue, somebody else sees as an inconvenience. Mm-hmm. So we have to constantly be fighting to be heard, to be seen, but more so to reconnect to ourselves. The difference between the 1960s and before, the first Black play that's kind of published was Ira Aldridge's play, and it was in 1847. So from that time on, we have been trying to explain ourselves.
1847.
To white people, right? And keep that in mind, 1847, right? Where slavery didn't end until 1863. So that means that these people were writing and producing art before slavery was even over. And 40 years after slavery, in Chicago, we opened the first Black theater.
And in 2026, we're still fighting for many of the same things. So we're talking nothing but our lifetimes over and over and over and over and over again, the same conversation over and over and over again. It helps me to understand the desperate need our children seem to have to move away from being identified from the past and looking at themselves more and claiming this notion that they are defined by being foundational Americans, Black Americans, and not African American, not ex-slaves. They want to say, they're saying, no, we're foundational Americans, understanding the history to some degree in that context, but saying that. And so there's a great movement for change amongst the younger people that really, I think, speak to what you're saying, right? I really
Yeah, except the difference is that we are the sum total of our experiences as an individual, as a person. So you can't take out slavery. You can't take out Jim Crow. You can't take out the way that we have been miseducated. You can't ignore them. You have to say, as a young person today, how do I make a difference today that will be amplified as we move on? Our work in the 60s was to rediscover Blackness. It was to reconnect our historic DNA. And we did that. It was about us writing. A young person, I was on a panel with this young person, he said, you know, you all didn't leave us a roadmap. I said, no, we didn't leave you a roadmap. We left you books. Books that we didn't have, right? We didn't have the kind of rich material that became available after Malcolm's death specifically, because that's when we really truly found Black power. Prior to Malcolm's death, we were still trying to find our way into integrating into their art form. So we were doing, Tennessee Williams and those standard plays, Ibsen, but with Black actors. But once Malcolm died, and Mahmoud Baraka and Larry Neal began to write about the issues of what Black power and Black art represented, everything began to change. We began to write about ourselves. Musicians began to sing about our upliftment and freedom, and it had a tremendous impact. The athletes stood up and threw their fists in the air. The doctors formed the Black Doctor Association. The nurses formed one. The social workers, the African American Patrolmen's League. We began to structure all of these places where we could find the good in ourselves and restore it to the rest of the world.
And it's kind of true too, Pemon, that every generation thinks they have the idea to change. They're starting a new movement.
Well, yeah, that too. But every generation did.
Yeah.
But they did what they could do within their own context. I mean, if you think about before 1964, Black people couldn't look white people in the eye. Something as simple as that. If you were driving down, Michelle Alexander talks about this a lot. When you drive down a freeway during that period of time, you couldn't pass a white person's car.
Don't say that.
You had to stay behind them as long as you had to, because you couldn't pass them.
Talk about running out of gas.
Right. Or in St. Louis, where they had laughing barrels on the street.
They had what?
Laughing barrels.
What's that?
Well, if you're walking down the street and you're Black and you find something funny, you stick your head in that barrel so that white people wouldn't think that you were laughing at them.
Huh?
Yeah. We couldn't even
heard of that before.
We couldn't eat vanilla ice cream except on the 4th of July.
Don't even start.
Insidious stuff.
Wait a minute. First of all, these are some things that I'm not familiar with. You couldn't eat vanilla ice cream, and you had laughing barrels so whites wouldn't think you were laughing at them. So that's that white insecurity that we keep talking about, but we don't have context to. So that makes sense now.
Because they have to find, you can only eliminate a problem if you cause it. You know, we are not the cause of this, and we can't resolve it, because if I do a movie and it's a Black love story, and it's just a love story, and you can't watch it because it's too Black, you can't see the love. And you can't watch the movie because there's 2 Black people in it, you have a problem.
Yeah.
You know,
can I say today I'm having a problem watching white movies because ain't no Black folks in it showing love. So it's reversed today. For me, it's like when I turn the television on and say I should want to watch a movie, if I've seen all the movies I want to see that are in the lineup for Black movies, I don't find myself enjoying movies anymore, because I realize now that we've been brainwashed in the perception that this is the right way to go. And so I want to see images, stories that are relatable and not in just one way. And I think that's another thing with movie making is that I know that if I go to Tubi, I'm going to see a lot of racial profile movies. Let me just keep it real. And I know I'm going to go to Netflix and I'm going to feel a lot of feel good movies that have been changed in story. They're not all completely true, like with the Madam C.J. Walker movie, right? Instead of just giving it to us real, they had to rewrite the script and make it feel good about her. But it didn't make Madam C.J. Walker less to tell the truth. It just told us about the truth of those times and how we were crabs in a barrel fighting to get on top to make something so we could feed our families. And so today, again, just coming back to youth of today, and I want to talk about Generation X because they are profoundly strong right now in so many ways. And I think many of us are missing the bus on the strength that they have and what they're doing to push everything up. They're making flowers grow no matter what. And so even what you spoke to, they are looking at that saying, that's bull crap. We're not facing that. And we're not going to go out and fight in the streets with you all either, while you're trying to deal with what Abantu is saying, the level of insecurity, which is that white fragility, right?
Yeah, and we're still trying to be accepted. It's young people that are coming up today have to look at the world from two perspectives. One, the stories that people say about us and the reality of what we know. And so when you look at what's happening on television, most of the things are to dumb people down. And I'm not even talking about race now. I'm just talking this stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I just finished a feature film, and the young man who was starring in the film was in the series Welcome to Derry, which is on HBO's Stephen King's work. And I turned it on because I want to support the young man. That first episode was horrible. I mean, in terms of how decadent and gory, and I said, I'm not watching this. I'm not doing this with you. I'm not putting this in my head. But I ended up watching it because the young man said it. I had to be able to talk about it. But as the movie goes on, I mean, the series, they humanize it more. They deal more with the people than the demons, and it made it slightly more acceptable. But as we look at what we create, we have been sold on the notion that we're doing our own thing when we're doing anything but our own thing. We are encouraged and influenced by people, by commercials, and we buy into them like they're true. And so one of the examples, based on what you just said, that I give, is if a white person came to me, and I'm a film producer, and they said, I want to do this Shirley Temple story. And people that are here might know that she was a young girl and a dancer and became an ambassador. Anyway, if they brought that film to me, I would say, that's wonderful. I will do it. Mm-hmm. If we show it through the eyes of Bojangles, who was the black person and she was the dance partner. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's how we treat it in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. We're going into other ethnic groups. We're sitting down in front of them, or we're going into black people that are in a position to say, well, I got to protect them from the other black people because I don't see myself with them. And so as a result, a lot of times we don't really see the good that we're doing even in film. When we talk about Tubi has a tendency to do these, gang-driven, drug-driven movies. But they set that up. So now you have people that are just creating the movies because they see Tubi as an outlet for them. And so we need more of that.
This so-called free stuff that is really set up to materialize this more hypnotic, take you back to the past, relieve you of your current pressure, and make you laugh at stuff. I was mistakenly looking at cartoons, which I used to look at when I was a kid, but didn't understand that they created a lot of racial profiling in the cartoons.
They did.
The ancient Rami. I mean, it was in Mickey Mouse. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that all that was there. And now that I look at what we have been has been put into us through every aspect of our living, even when I remember there was something, I was watching a document on the red dots, how red dots were on the bottom of groceries and stuff. This was for Black people, and so we have so much to heal from, that abandoning the society of what's going on right now is almost like the best healing we can do, and just integrating within ourselves and trying to support, level up, learn and understand our languages, the language of what we say to each other, creating the kind of common sense communication that helps us to finally thrive with each other. There's so much pain that we have inside of us that's ancestral as well as current, that it's something like as simple as trying to say, I'm going to go buy the black pencils instead of going over to wherever you go to buy your pens and paper. We have a problem. They have a problem with a new app called Myria because it's Black and they don't have enough stuff on it, or they didn't know how to say the word. And I'm like, just like you can't say Myria, but you can say Amazon. So we have a lot to overcome.
Yeah, no, we do, and we need a reset. Organizationally, we need a reset. And so I made a comment recently about the fact that marching, when people were marching in the 60s, it was the first time it had been seen. So it was media worthy. And all the media, because they had never seen dogs on people, they had never seen people beaten up. So they played it off, and it got a lot of coverage. When that era was over, Hoover and the government said, what we're not going to do is create any more Black messiahs. How do you do that? You do that by not putting them on television, by not giving them exposure, by ignoring their presence. And that, in essence, is what has happened. And so we've lost all of these entities that we used to get information from. And that's why I suggest a reset, because most of the organizations that exist in the 60s wrote a mission that was based on where we were then. So now, today, we have to look back at that and say, okay, is the mission the same? Margaret Burroughs said, what should I tell my children who are Black? We're still answering that question today. So what is the answer today? Is it the same one that it was when she created the museum? Or do we have to go back and look at how do we move forward? And can we see ourselves in a future independent of anybody but ourselves?
And maybe perhaps also, Pemon, if you don't mind my saying this, that we can look at presentation of ourselves as in the now, based on where we've been, but in a more present now, to look at now and say, now this is who we are and what we are. Maybe we don't have 20 million, but maybe we've got 1 million, right? And maybe we have 1 million great things to look at. Let's just start somewhere and become activated by the presence of now, and not get lost in the history, but use the history as a ladder to move forward as we're speaking about it, right? We're discussing that the past is a way to understand and know what we've been through and how we've accessed the future, right? But how do you pay homage to the presence?
Well, I mean, first of all, we don't, as a people, we have begun to look at our history as something that is negative and always settled within the context of us being slaves. But the reality of it is that it's the resilience of the escape, it's the resilience of being able to move forward that's the most important. Well, when we look at today, I was on a panel, and someone asked me, what 2 movies would I want to make if I could make a movie about anybody? And I said Marcus Garvey and Haile Selassie.
Okay.
That those 2 movies would be epic. This is based on how they impacted the world. So the person who was on the panel, he said, oh, don't I want to see that old stuff? And I said, so how do you justify Raiders of the Lost Ark? How do you justify Tomb Raider?
That's right.
because those are old movies. I mean, those are old time periods,
That's right.
but
Right.
they're told in a contemporary way.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to give up the past.
Mm-hmm.
We have to repurpose it in a way that's most beneficial to us. And and the people that are coming behind us have to be encouraged by a new discovery and not by copying that which is now in front of us.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to imply that we should give up the past, but that we use it as a stepping stool in a way that where we can discuss who we are today, but with the pride of what we've overcome, the pride of what we've created. More, we've done more great things, and we all this overcome stuff happened through doing great things.
No, we have.
We could
You know,
find a way to celebrate ourselves and each other for the great things that we've done, then we'd have so much on our table that we wouldn't have time to pay attention to the rest of the stuff. And I think that's some of the message that the Gen X have. They're like, let's try to figure out how we celebrate ourselves right here, right now. I mean, they're talking about everything from soups to the look.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what they lack that we didn't are institutions to have those discussions. During the 60s, we had the Topographical Research Center, we had the DeSalvo Museum, the Southside Center for the Performing Arts, Southside Community Arts Center, Transitions East, the Communiversity, Afro Arts Theater, Ile Ife, the African Temple. I can go on and on and on about all of these places where we could have the kind of discourse that the two of us are having now. How do you know what's right? Where do you get, and how do we create masters? Because most of the masters that are being defined by for us are not being defined by us. So I like August Wilson's work in general,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not necessarily my favorite writer.
I hear you.
But he's pushed as, the greatest Black writer. Well, that's our fault when we don't explore all these other folks that have done this wonderful work. I mean, people still say today that Capitol Records is the house that Nat King Cole built, right?
Mm-hmm.
Capitol Records building the round in Hollywood. Well, if that's the case, then that's an answer for reparations. If he built it, give him his money back.
We're going to get on reparations, but what other, you just mentioned, I was about to say his name. You just mentioned him. You said August Wilson. Mm-hmm. What other playwrights? What other published works of art, works that are out here that you think are critical, that should be highlighted more? We can go back to the library and talk about more. I know my grandson, he loved reading. I was going to say parables of. Oh gosh, how could I forget it? He was in the book all the time. It's here at my house, but I'm going to Sour.
Mm.
What's the name of it? Anyway, somebody put it in if you know what I'm talking about. But go ahead. Can you respond to that?
Yes. Because I started the theater so young, I had to do a lot of work because I had to not only know why I was creating, but what the past was. So the earliest recorded theater here in the United States was Congo Square, and that was in New Orleans. So if we look at our own development, we can see the phases that tie into history and events that cause us to be where we are. For example, I mentioned the formation of the first Black film company in Chicago. Well, Oscar Micheaux, behind him, produced 40 films. During a period where we didn't have any buildings, we didn't have any kind of distribution system, we had very little media, but he created 40 films. How do you do that?
Right.
In that environment? And then after that, what happened? How do we get from a point where we're producing all this stuff and then we end up doing nothing? It ties directly to the development of sound and color, because Black people and the cameras that we had were the old black and white ones that you had to have somebody play behind it. There was no sound. So once sound was created, we were put out of business for that. Then what happened after that? As we began to develop again, the Depression happened. But during the Depression, they formed the Work Progress Administration, and they gave all these actors and artists places to work because they had to get people back to work. So you see all this work by Zora Neale Hurston. You see the work that was done in the South by the photographers. You see in Harlem and in New York the work that Ted Ward and Richard Wright and like you, those folks were doing. A lot of it had to do with that. And then what happened? It went away again.
Yes.
And then it comes back again in the 70s when Hollywood was dying, and they did not Shaft, but they did Sweetback. And Sweetback made so much money that they said, we got to put some Sweetback's Badass Song by Melvin Van Peebles. Yeah.
Okay.
It was that first anti-hero movie.
Sweetback, Melvin Van Peebles, the senior, the senior or the junior?
The senior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweetback.
He had done a film called Watermelon Man.
Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah, and then after that,
I just didn't remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have to be the keepers of our history, and we have the tendency to be too much in the present. So, I was at the DuSable Museum for 5 years as the director of education and public programs, and I realized while I was there that I couldn't create anything new. The museum had been in existence for 50 years, or now it's 80. I mean, it's almost 80 years. Well, you are not going to find a lot of original stuff that people haven't thought of somewhere down the line. You can repurpose it, you can bring it back together, you can do all that kind of stuff. But
I got a story for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm
so
telling you, truthfully, when Malachi called me a Bronzeville diva, he said, "Oh, you're not the Bronzeville diva. There were Bronzeville divas before you." I'm like, "Well, who are they and why am I one?" He said Nancy and and Ella and He went through the women who had come into Chicago, who had performed down in what is now called Bronzeville, and were laying the ground. Ella and all of these beautiful, dynamic vocalists. And so I said, "Wow!" So I went on the internet and tried to find something that identified Bronzeville diva and couldn't find it. And that's what started my journey in producing Bronzeville Diva Productions, is trying to create a narrative that fit around what I was told. I think that it's important to kind of understand that if you're going to do the work, who has done the work and what that work has meant to our ground, what are the bricks that they laid, right? And so it's been a constant journey for me. I have not ever had one day when I didn't learn something new as it related to the women who were a part of the makeup of building the cultural aspects of music and theater and dance out of Chicago itself. Right? And how that migration took place into other places, going into New York and back home to the South and everywhere that they went. And so that's the dynamism behind them, that they were so fearless that Billie Holiday may have a representation vis-a-vis Strange Fruit, the song, but that Ella, for her to be this robust, brown-skinned Black woman with a voice to boldly go where no one else would go and to create a rhythmic scat pattern with Louis Armstrong, that you just can now in no way hear a song and not want some of that jelly roll. You know what I'm saying? You want it. And when you think of great pianists and it's not just musical. It's not just the musical anthem. It is the total anthem of Blackness.
Yeah, and part of our responsibility, I think, is to have those memories. The only difference in what you said is that if I was going to talk about a Bronzeville diva, they'd have to be from Chicago. So,
well, that is what he was saying, and that is what I produced. But those women,
Dinah Washington.
When you say Dinah Washington was certainly one of them. In fact, when I get the street name, Al Carter Bay had me come out and do that big street naming over there for that. And so I become more aware through my work as well about what I have not yet learned, what I've missed or haven't talked about yet. And I have become much more of a reader, going back and learning and reading and doing things that I think that are palatable to extend my work, right? Because I don't feel like I have a place or a presence in the future as a producer unless I do that.
Yeah, and you have to be able to recognize talent. And what I mean by that is possibility. So the person might not have everything that they need, but you'll see that little presence that all they need is some training and some help to move them forward. And as we move through life, that should be part of our responsibility to say, okay, well, I'm transitioning out here, so I got to bring these people along. Um, but we also have to remember we have to be the people that maintain the memory of the folks that have come before us
Mhm.
and find a path. So those people that are coming up now have to recognize that number one, irrespective of what your talent is, you're a storyteller.
Mhm.
Whether you're a singer, whether you're an artist, whether you're an actor, you really are a storyteller first. And so, what is the story that your artist is going to tell?
Mhm.
Once that is determined, then you can try to find the people that have been there before you, or you can find the people that can help you to get on your right track to maintain it. But you also have to know what is it that gets you and who got you to this point, because you didn't get there by yourself. And so when we look back on the people that we have forgotten, it becomes important that we pull them back up. There is a tendency for Black people to be treated as if we are only one.
Mhm.
Meaning, when we talk about the civil rights movement, we talk about Martin Luther King, and what I constantly say to people is, look at the front line. Any march that King did, look at the front line. Those are the workers. Those are the organizations across this country that were making a major difference, and we have ignored the majority of those participants. And it's
Mhm.
the same thing in art. You get one singer, one Black singer. You have these other ethnic groups that make a new a star every day, and they sell them to us. These people, we don't know their names, but we have to have and be responsible for the development of talent. And the only way to do that and make them responsible is make it part of the training and the upkeep. Because once you're gone, and I set up my theater and I trained you and I gave you a better education than you did with all that money you paid in college, how do you make sure that institution sustains itself after you're gone?
Well, we're going to take a quick break. It's going to be short, and we're going to come right back. And my question to you then in coming back is today, what is happening today in cultural arts, activism, and the proliferation of messaging here in Chicago?
Love it.
And what are you doing to help make sure that gets out?
Cool.
Be right back.
Peace and love. I'm Michelle Renee, host of Education Nation, live on the Female Solution Global Network every second and fourth Sunday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. The intention of Education Nation is to raise awareness about the literacy crisis and to offer information to combat the problem. The goal is to awaken an army of reading coaches and mentors. You will experience guests who are doing their part in the community to ensure youth in their circles are reading and thinking critically. I look forward to serving you in this capacity. Literacy is freedom, and Education Nation will offer information and strategies to help ensure our young people stay free.
And there it is. So
Mhm.
please, if we can pick up from where we left off, we're talking about cultural arts and how it's defining and making a movement here in Chicago on the ground, and what your role is in making sure those things are defined and replete with what is needed.
On a personal level, I am a seeker of talent. And so whenever I go any place, I'm looking for who in that room should I pick up? Who in that room should I make sure that they become part of the performing apparatus that we have in place? So I attended XL Film Festival last summer, and there was a young man there who was running the show. He was doing interviews, he was wrangling the guests, and I just watched him. And then when we were doing our feature, we hired him. for that. I just did the same thing in another space. So as I go around, I try to look for people that only need a connection or a little push. What is happening in Chicago? Chicago is still the top place for the development of Black institutions in the country that we own, that we're building, that we still have connections with. And even though it's not advertised, we still have a connection with each other. So you have the BACA, the Black Arts organization that is a compilation of music, art, dance. The galleries have pulled together and they're doing tours. The theater companies are developing. Harry Lennox, the actor, is building his Museum for the Performing Arts on Cottage Grove. He's also going to have a training facility right next to that. That's around 43rd. On 64th and Cottage, the Definition Theater is building their new facility there. And of course, we have Little Black Pearl, ETA still around. Jackie Taylor is expanding her operation on the north side, which also includes her building a new theater, a smaller one inside of the existing building. And she also purchased the land around that building as well. And so you have all of these wonderful projects that are happening. But how do we get back to the people? And it comes down to audience and what do we perceive as our audience? And so my position has always been that your audience, first of all, is your circumference of your institution. So the first thing that we have to do is make sure that the people right next door to us know that we exist, and that it is a place where they are welcomed. Because if it's a community institution, it should be building something like the community where you find yourself. Musically, Chicago's still the leader. You know what the documentaries that are being done around house music, the work that Rita Wack is doing with the piece she just did on Dubois, and she did Marian Anderson. So there's an incredible amount of work that is being done. The work that the tribe is doing in the written world, the work that Angela is doing with the Obsidian Collection, and Angela Ford, and her distribution of images and the control of the images of our lives. So there are a lot of people that are doing good work, but we have to have a constant and committed way of letting people know that this is what's going on and where you can find true information that is being done within your interest.
Wow. And so that's a lot, and it's not even everything. A lot of people don't know that Henry Lennox is from Chicago, right?
Yes, he is. He was a school teacher here, and ended up doing 5 Heartbeats, and it moved his career on, and then he was on the Blacklist for a long period of time. And so he's a working actor, and he's a working actor that's giving back. And so he's come back home, and he's building an institution, because one of the things that we suffer from is, where do we give our stuff? Mm-hmm. We have collected a lot of material. So where does it go? Well, if it goes to the Smithsonian, that's controlled by the government. If we go to the Chicago Public Library, which is the Woodson, that is controlled by the city. And so it's the mayor. So where do we put our stuff that's in the hands of Black people that we can say, we're going to do something in Thurgood Marshall without being forced to add Clarence Thomas, which did in DC. So building institutions, building a bridge so that people can go from the desire to reality of creating. Every film and project that we do, we include a lot of young people with us. So when I went to Nigeria to produce the film with Danny Glover, I took a filmmaker from Chicago, and he was in Nigeria with me for 6 months. So every project we do like that, we encourage people and try to find a way for them to move forward.
Well, I want to touch on the subject that we really don't talk about enough, which is the aging African-American person in the city of Chicago who wants to still be included. Not only that we are discussing that we need to pass down, and make sure that our young people are interrupted and given this here inclination to move forward with these things that we've been laying and creating fertile ground for, but how do you remain fertile in the community and remain a part of the scene, not just as ticket buyers and people who are creating stuff, but for myself even and others like myself who are out here and want to be a part of the big picture and be a part of it on the stages and in the places. How do we do that as the ground now becomes more developed, as a Henry Lennox is in? Here's his theater. So I totally anticipate that's going to be outstanding. So anyone theatrical who may be in it, who's been out here a long time trying to get their foot in the ground, how do we create those open gates for those who are here still thriving, working, trying to be a part of this scene? How do we do that?
I'm going to make some assumptions about you. When you started in this business, you probably did some talent shows.
I did a lot. I was in Holy Angels, so I started there.
Okay. And so that's something that I think is sorely missed now. I wanted to be a singer at one point. And then I heard Luther. And I said, I got to find something else to do. Right. So you can say you want to be something, but until you're up against the real talent that's going to push you to that next level, we have some issues. So to answer your question specifically, you don't wait by the phone for anybody to tell you what to do. To be a singer, you have to sing. There's nothing in the definition of being a singer that says you have to make money, that you have to do a record. None of that. It just says you have to sing.
Right.
Now, how do you apply it where you can make a living out of it? That's another challenge. But when you look at the development of institutions in Chicago, and I was on a panel with Jackie Taylor, OJ, Chuck Smith, it was a bunch of us. And I said to the crowd, nobody sitting on the stage is doing what they wanted to do or what we planned to do. We all wanted to be actors. But then you're an actor, then you look up and say, well, we need a director. So then we started directing. And then we said, wait a minute, there's a thing called a producer. Then we started producing. And then we said, wait a minute, we got to have a building. Now you are a landlord. You're so far away from what you started to do in terms of producing that you become something else. And sometimes that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
So within that process, we have to, talent is developed as a result of opportunity. We have to constantly be providing opportunities to our young people because they are the ones that will give us the answers to our salvation and reconnecting us.
I love that.
They will find that song. They will find that rhythm and that spirit that pulls us together, that makes us sit in a theater with other people and sit on our hands. But when we're in a theater by ourselves, we find a joy like no other. You know, you can go to see a play with an integrated audience, and then, you know, they love it and they clap at the end. You go to a play with a Black audience, they dance in the aisles. We're different people.
Yeah,
different kind of people, and we have to.
We have a joy inside of us that has to come out. We are like joy. Yeah.
And then we also have to say, we don't have to have all the answers. You have to have a part of it. I have to have a part. If you want to do the music thing and I can help with that, we have to look at how, if I want to make shoes and you want to make shoestrings, then we got a partnership.
That's right.
We're not competing. We're building an ecosystem.
And I brought that up to say that I have been very proactive in doing very much, probably everything that you've said. It's part of my legacy of what I've done. I'm very constructive, productive, and I'm always building and growing. And this is part of that. Having Coffee Break was one of those ways for me to continue to find a way to provide messaging and output, right? And to get input, right? Because we're ignited by our creative selves who want to always find something to create, to give, to do. And not necessarily for self, but for those that will come in and learn from us as well, right? But I think that what has happened today is that people are excited about your being here because so many people who either get to see you and have heard about you or see you or want to know you get a chance to hear your voice and to know who you are and how you've impacted this world that we're living in here in Chicago on the ground in the landscape. And I want to thank you for that, right? I want to thank you so much. You and your wife both. Just thank you all so much for what you've done, what you do, and what you'll continue to do. You're so vibrant and so lively. And I think that it is the lens that we use when we hit the ground, the one you spoke of going out and finding and looking and paying attention and saying, hey, let me grab this person, let me help them. And my bringing up the whole aging person who's out here kind of lost. I came into this place of music and found a lot of those people. And that's what made me want to do the Bronzeville Divas. That's what made me want to work with the kids on the West Side, is because I saw so many people who were just haggard from not being developed or not knowing how to develop. Just because you're creative does not mean that you know how to create. I will say that. Some people are just performative. And that's what I'm speaking to. The people who are just performative in the sense that they can get on the stage, but they can't create the necessary components that make the stage happen.
Yeah. And what you said about the seniors, at some point, people have to recognize that is an audience. Mm-hmm. It's like a large audience. And so when I met with some of the people in the theater community here, I said, so why do all of you all look and taste the same? Aside from Jackie Taylor, because you know what Jackie does, and she has a footprint, she has a vision, a mission, and you always know what it is. The other theaters, they do the same kind of plays. They all mix up the actors. Well, where is our senior theater? Where's our children's theater? Where's our classic theater? So they can redefine their purpose and have a whole new audience. Who says that the plays have to be on the weekend? You could have a whole theater during the day where elders feel like they can get out and run that operation. So
that's right.
That's why I said it has to be a reset when we begin to think about what is the next 10, 20 years going to be, because even theater is changing. And the answer to that is not doing a movie that you play in a theater. You know, it's like you have to redefine what theater is and how the audience is going to engage with it.
That's right.
You need a place in which you can do that.
Well, it's been an exciting hour with you, and we run out of time. But I want you to come back over and over again, and whatever subject and how we need to frame that. Let's keep doing this.
I will.
And bring your wife with you. Let's have her on as well. All and anyone that you know, continue to integrate and work together. It's been my pleasure to thrive in this moment with you. And thank you so much. And Rodney Gibson is saying, this is so good. And to all of you who have come into the room, thank you so much for being here today. Don't forget to like.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention Masekwa's name, because I didn't. So Masekwa Myers is my wife. We have been married 50 years. So we will be celebrating 51 in May. We've been working.
Say her name because you're singing it.
Masekwa.
That's what I'm saying. You're singing it.
Yeah. You know, we've been together a long time, and part of that is because we found our place in ourselves, so we could connect. You know, because you have to know yourself before you can know anybody else.
Well, I want to go, but Abantu wants to know, how do we get the book?
The book is available in town. You can get it at Burst Into Books. You can get it at Book Buddy. Actually, the top selling store is the one at the Cultural Center downtown. I wouldn't have thought that. And you can go online to bookbaby.com and you can order it from there. Or, and I say this a lot, it's also available in all the libraries. And I would rather that people went to the library and got it for free and read it than purchase it and set it on the shelf. So if you don't have the resources, you can always take it out of the library.
Wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to reading and learning more about you. If I can get you back sooner than later, we're going to do it. Thank you all so much. Please put the likes and the follows and shares of this content. We've got to grow this community, and we have to get these messages out. Don't take it lightly, and let's not slight one another. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much, Pemon. You are a master. You are a statesman. You are all the things that we hope and